Henry hadn't set foot in a place like this in years. Usually, his world, built on decades of careful deals and quiet ambition, was managed through a web of intermediaries. But today, something, a restless whisper in his heart, had dragged him here. The fluorescent lights of the bank felt sterile, cold against the heavy weight of his thoughts. He approached the counter, his movements precise, handing over his documents to the young woman behind the glass. She looked up, a polite, practiced smile gracing her face. Her name tag read Sarah, and there was a casual grace in the way she held herself, despite her obviously young age. It was her youth that struck him initially, but then his eyes drifted downward. A glint of gold caught his eye. Nestled against her skin, a small, intricately designed pendant hung on a delicate chain. It was a sight that sent a jolt of recognition through Henry, freezing him in place. His heart, usually a steady rhythm, stuttered, skipped a beat, then pounded in his chest. It was that pendant, the one he hadn't seen in over 2 decades. The one his daughter, also named Sarah, had worn the day she vanished. A whisper of disbelief, of impossible hope, caught in his throat. He forced a casual tone, a mask he'd worn for so long it had become a second skin. "That's a beautiful necklace," he said, the words feeling foreign on his tongue. "Where did you get it?" The young woman, Sarah, glanced down, her fingers lightly tracing the pendant. "Oh, this," she said, her voice warm, almost cheerful. "It was a gift from my grandmother. I've had it for as long as I can remember." A gift from her grandmother. Could this really just be some cruel twist of fate? A coincidence so profound it bordered on the surreal? Henry swallowed hard, the years pressing down on him like a physical weight. He remembered the endless nights of searching, the hollow echo of his daughter's name on his lips, the gnawing disappointment that had become his constant companion. He managed a soft, "It reminds me of a necklace my daughter had," hoping the pain in his voice was masked. Sarah, though polite, showed a flicker of discomfort in her eyes, an unease at the intensity of his gaze. She quickly handed him his documents. The interaction, brief, was over, but for Henry, it had cracked open a vault of memories long sealed. Outside, the city noise seemed distant, muted. His mind was ablaze with a single image, that pendant. He knew, deep in his gut, this wasn't random. His Sarah, only 4 years old, had vanished without a trace, leaving only questions and a void that felt impossible to fill. 20 years, and yet, this... Back in his dimly lit study, the flickering firelight danced on the walls, offering no comfort. His study, a sanctuary of sorts, now felt like a prison. Each book, each artifact, a silent reminder of the life he had, the life he'd lost. He'd built an empire, a monument to his grief, and yet it had never filled the space Sarah had left behind. His marriage had crumbled under the unbearable weight of her absence. His wife, unable to face the constant reminder, had left him, retreating from the pain. Now this small piece of gold had reignited a spark he thought he'd extinguished. Hope, he knew, was a dangerous thing. It had driven him to the edge of madness once before. He pulled out a photograph from his desk, a precious, slightly faded image of his daughter. Her eyes sparkled with a childish joy, her small hand gripping the very necklace that now haunted him. It was a gift from his own mother, her grandmother, a connection to a past that had seemed so safe and untroubled before the darkness had descended. A question formed in his mind. Could this Sarah at the bank be connected? Was it possible? Or was it a cruel, elaborate hoax? A chilling idea took root. What if it wasn't a coincidence at all? What if this young woman wore the pendant because she, or someone close to her, was connected to the terrible secret of Sarah's disappearance? No, she would have been too young to be involved directly, but there was someone who had orchestrated the entire tragedy. and he knew who to call. With a hand that trembled slightly, he dialed a number he hadn't used in years. Jacob Harper, his old friend, a private investigator who had once tirelessly helped him search for Sarah, and now might just help him find closure.
Henry, is that you? After all this time, what's happened?
Jacob, I need your help again. It's about Sarah. I think I found something, a clue maybe.
Calmly, tell me what you found. I'm still here if you need me. Send me the details and I'll look into it.
I will. Thank you, Jacob.
The weight of the past settled on Henry's shoulders again. He'd been chasing shadows, and now a single glint of gold had thrown a new, dangerous light on the path ahead. The next day, fueled by a mixture of hope and fear, Henry waited for news. He couldn't shake the feeling that this young Sarah held the key to his past. The idea of a connection felt too strong to ignore. By mid-morning, Jacob called back, his voice serious.
I've got some preliminary information. The girl's name is Sarah Davis, age 25. Clean record, but her history before 18 is vague. No clear school records, nothing concrete. Raised by her grandmother. Moved around a lot as a child. Parents died young.
And the necklace?
Working on it. Her grandmother is still alive. I'm going to pay her a visit. Maybe she can explain the origins of that piece.
Do it, Jacob. Please keep me updated.
The news sent a shiver down Henry's spine. The pieces, strange and fractured, were beginning to fit together in a way that both excited and terrified him. He looked at his daughter's picture, her small, innocent face staring back at him, a stark contrast to the turmoil he felt inside. He replayed the day of her disappearance, analyzing every second. It had seemed so ordinary. Could this new Sarah hold the key to what happened that day? He waited, the hours dragging by, each one a torment. He wrestled with the possibility that this was all just another dead end, another cruel twist of fate. By evening, Jacob called again, his voice holding a note of urgency.
Henry, I just spoke to Sarah's grandmother. Her name is Martha Davis. She confirmed she gave Sarah the pendant when she was little. But listen to this. She said it wasn't hers originally. It was passed down from Sarah's mother.
And her mother?
According to Martha, Sarah's mother, Rebecca, died when Sarah was 4. But get this, Henry, Martha was very hesitant to talk about it. And when I pressed, she got defensive. She said that Sarah's birth and early childhood were complicated.
Henry's heart hammered. Sarah's mother, dying at the same age his daughter had vanished? It was too much to be coincidental. Jacob continued. When I asked about Sarah's father, Martha wouldn't say much, just that he was out of the picture before Sarah was born. There's no official record of him. A chill ran down Henry's spine. The timeline was too precise, the necklace too identical, and now the evasive answers about Sarah's family was all too suspicious. He needed to meet this Sarah. He had to look her in the eyes, feel the connection, see if he could find the answers he'd been searching for his entire life.
I need to meet her, Jacob. I need to know if she's my Sarah.
I figured you'd say that. Henry, we need to tread carefully. We don't know how much she knows, or if she's connected at all. Be careful.
What do you suggest?
I'm going to keep digging. I think Martha is hiding something. I'm also trying to arrange a DNA test without raising any suspicions.
The weight of the past settled over Henry once again. He'd spent so long chasing shadows. Now he was close to the truth, but the truth had an almost slippery quality. He couldn't wait any longer, his heart pounding in his chest. Henry, a man of action, couldn't wait. He needed to confront her, to see if she was really his daughter, or if this was all a terrible dream. He walked into the bank, determined to unravel the mystery. He was going to get the truth. He approached the counter where Sarah worked. She looked up, the same polite smile gracing her features, a mask that hid the turbulence underneath.
Good morning, Mr. Clarkson. How can I help you today?
Sarah, I need to speak with you privately.
Sarah, a bit surprised, nodded, ushering him into a small, anonymous conference room. The room, bare and functional, felt suffocating, the tension building between them.
Is everything all right, Mr. Clarkson?
That necklace, where exactly did you get it?
Like I said before, it was a gift from my grandmother.
That necklace, it's identical to the one my daughter was wearing the day she disappeared.
Your daughter.
Sarah froze, her face pale, her eyes wide with a mixture of shock and disbelief. Henry's voice trembled with raw emotion.
Her name was Sarah too. She disappeared when she was 4. We never found her. But that necklace, it's the same.
Mr. Clarkson, I don't know what to say. This is a lot.
I need to know, Sarah, is it possible that you could be my daughter?
I don't know anything. My grandmother gave this to me, but she never told me where it came from. I've never questioned it.
There's more to this than you realize. I've been investigating. The timing, your background, the necklace, it all points to something.
But I'm not your daughter. I can't be.
Are you sure? Do you remember anything from when you were younger? Anything about where you came from? Or your family?
I don't. It's all blurry. My grandmother raised me, and my mother died when I was very young. That's all I know.
Please, Sarah, I've spent my entire life searching. If there's even a chance that you're her, I need to know.
Sarah, her eyes welling with tears, was clearly overwhelmed by the weight of the revelation.
Mr. Clarkson, I don't have any answers, but if you think there's a possibility, then we should find out.
We can take a DNA test. It's the only way to know for sure.
Okay, let's do it.
The next few days stretched into an eternity. The weight of the unknown pressed down on both of them. Finally, the results arrived. Henry, with trembling hands, opened the envelope, the paper a testament to the years of pain and hope. Sarah stood beside him, her face pale, waiting as if poised on a knife's edge. The words on the page confirmed the impossible. Sarah Davis was in fact Sarah Clarkson, his daughter, his little girl, the one he had searched for and grieved for so long. A gasp escaped Henry's lips, and for a moment, the world around him seemed to spin.
I don't know what to say. This can't be real.
It's real, Sarah. You're my daughter.
Tears began to flow freely down Sarah's face, and Henry reached out, pulling her into his arms, holding her tightly as she wept. It was a moment of profound joy, but also a deep sadness, a bittersweet reunion after so much loss. The years that had been stolen could never be recovered.
I need to know more about my past. I need to know why this happened, why I was taken. I can't just accept my whole life was a lie without understanding why.
We will find out together, Sarah. I've already started looking into the Davises. I will get you all the answers.
They held each other, two halves of a whole, reunited by a twist of fate, and a pendant that held the echo of a stolen past. The truth, when it finally emerged, was uglier and more painful than either of them could have imagined. Jacob discovered that a ruthless man named Whitmore, a former business associate of Henry's, had orchestrated everything, driven by a desire for revenge. He'd blamed Henry for a deal gone wrong years ago. Whitmore had used the Davis family to raise Sarah in secret. He had been watching Henry, waiting for the perfect moment to inflict the most profound pain. When Henry finally confronted Whitmore, it was with a quiet rage.
Henry Clarkson, I didn't expect to see you after all these years. How wonderful.
You know why I am here. You took my daughter. You stole Sarah from me.
You're finally putting all the pieces together. Huh? I must say you took your time.
I've spent the last 20 years wondering where my daughter was, wondering if she was dead. But now I found her. I know the truth.
So what are you going to do, Henry? What are you here for? Revenge?
No, I'm here for answers. I need to know why you did this, why you thought it was worth tearing a family apart.
I lost everything because of you, Henry. I was going to make sure you paid.
Henry turned and walked away, his heart heavy but resolute. The legal process to hold Whitmore accountable would take time, but Henry's focus was on rebuilding his relationship with Sarah. She had endured so much, and now they had to find a new path forward together.
I don't know how it's possible, but I always felt incomplete. Now I understand why.
I'm so sorry, Sarah. I should have found you sooner.
It's not your fault, Dad. You couldn't have known. Whitmore, he took everything from us. But now we have a chance to move forward.
Hearing her call him Dad, a word he thought he'd never hear again, was a balm to his wounded soul.
I want to make things right. I want to give you all of the life that was stolen from us.
He found closure with the knowledge that Whitmore had no longer had the power to cause them further harm. On a bright spring morning, Henry and Sarah sat together on the porch of his estate.
I never imagined that we would be here together, but I am so grateful we are.
Me too. It's not what I expected, but it's good.
On a bright spring morning, Henry and Sarah sat together on the porch of his estate. Life throws curveballs that can shatter our world, but even in the darkest moments, hope can ignite again, sometimes in the most unexpected ways. The echo of a forgotten love can guide us back to where we belong. Don't give up on the things that matter most, and remember that it's never too late to start again. You just need the courage to look forward. Subscribe button and links to other videos.